is staying exactly where it is.
Indeed. The European Central Bank is keeping its benchmark interest rate at 0.25 percentage point. It's resisting calls to bring rates down further to stimulate the Eurozone economy. In a monthly press conference earlier this Thursday, ECB chief Mario Draghi, he said the Eurozone economy remains weak. He said the central bank would act if needed, but he played down fears that the Eurozone is heading for deflation or falling consumer prices. Draghi said it's unlikely to become reality even as the economy is weak. Let's listen in to the president of the ECB.
As I said many times, we're going to be extremely cautious with this recovery because it's still fragile and it's still uneven. And it really starts from low levels of activity. But so far, it's proceeding.
OK, as I said, the ECB staying put there. Let's move on to corporate news next. It's all changed at Japanese electronics maker Sony. It's announced 5,000 job cuts, and it's to place its TV business in a separate unit and sell off its PC unit. The radical overhaul was announced as Sony said it expects a full-year loss of $1.1 billion. Charlotte Hawkins has more.
A huge disappointment for Sony. The Japanese electronics company is to stop making computers, as it expects a net loss of $1.1 billion in the year to the end of March. Its previous estimate had been a net profit of $300 million. Sony will sell its PC unit to a Japanese private equity group. It will also split its loss-making TV division into a separate unit. All this means the company will have to cut 5,000 jobs by March 2015. It's a major blow to Sony. Demand for its products has been dwindling, and it's been struggling to compete with Apple and Samsung in the smartphone market. Its one bright spot has been its gaming business. The PlayStation 4 sold more than 4 million consoles in the first 6 weeks after its November release.
Global stock markets are having one of their better days this Thursday. Over in the United States, we're seeing gains across the board. Traders, they're looking ahead to Friday's all-important jobless report. As you can see there, all three main indices over in the United States up a little bit less than 1%. Still, though, pretty good-looking figures after a few weeks of turmoil in the markets. In Europe earlier, stock markets also closed in positive territory. The euro was also seen trading higher as the ECB refrained from cutting interest rates. As you can see there, some real gains for the European markets. European car shares, they did well this session. This is Germany's Daimler said it expects a rise in both sales and profits this year. The forecast came as the Mercedes maker reported a fourth-quarter operating profit of €2.5 billion. That's 45% higher than during the October to December period back in 2012. Shares in General Motors are in focus on Wall Street this session. This is the American giant fell short of expectations when it announced fourth-quarter earnings earlier. GM made $913 million, 2% more than during the same period in 2012. But analysts, they were hoping for more. GM is doing well in North America, but it's weighed down by weakness in Europe and South America. And shares in Twitter are tumbling on Wall Street. They've been down more than 20% this session, 21% this hour. It comes in the wake of Twitter's first quarterly results after going public in November. Between October and December, the micro-messaging site lost $511 million. What was even worse, though, for investors was the modest growth of new users. We talked about Daimler before, we talked about GM, and we're going to end on a car note. Luxury car maker Aston Martin is recalling almost 18,000 cars. The company says a Chinese firm supplied it with a part made of counterfeit plastic, and it could cause the accelerator pedal to break. Aston Martin emphasizes that the problem has not caused any injuries. The recall affects around 3/4 of all Aston Martin cars made since 2008. My question is, what would James think? I'm thinking about James Bond, of course, since Aston Martin is his preferred transport of choice, I believe. Right, Laura?
I'll have to take your word for it. I'm not a big fan of the International Man of Mystery, I have to say. But thanks very much. Marcus Carlson there with the business. Now, moving on to sports. Joe Taddy's here. Hello there, Joe.
Hi, Laura.
You're a James Bond fan?
Yeah, you know.
Most boys are, aren't they? Most men
Yeah.
are. All right, let's talk about Sochi, because we've been talking about it for a while. It's finally here. The hour is upon us, almost. One more day to go.
That's right.